Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the United Stand. Welcome back to Adam Talks. We kick-started this show last week. It's happening every Tuesday, 4 p.m. An interactive show with your guys' comments in on everything we debate. We're mixing up the panel. We're bringing different people in. And I'm going to bring it to you now nicely. You all know who this guy is. I think he's going to be on many of these shows. We had a little talk outside the Emirates at weekend after the game. Ricky, he's on the show. Ricky, how are you doing, mate? Have you recovered from that trip down to the Emirates at weekend yet?
I've recovered from it. I've taken a little bit of solace in that at least they're still well ahead of City, and I don't want City winning, and it's the last thing I want. So there is a little bit of a silver lining. There
is a little bit there just to keep us going. We talk about everything on the show from the last 3 days, obviously the weekend and the Monday. A lot has happened, especially for Manchester United, Rick. We're talking about possible Qatari ownership. We're going to talk about Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, maybe even a new goalkeeper. David De Gea has come up in a topic at the moment, and obviously maybe a replacement in the summer. It's going to be big this summer, to be honest. But Rick, we've got to start with Arsenal. Me and you were talking after the Arsenal game, and we sort of come to the conclusion at the end of it that, you know what, sometimes you have to just hold your hands up and say, you know what, it was a ding-dong game, a top-of-the-table clash. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes the other team were just better.
Yeah.
And that's what it was pretty much in that game, wasn't it, with Arsenal?
Yeah, they've had quite a bit of a back and forth on Instagram with one or two people sort of saying...
You, Rick? No.
Sort of saying if, if such a player would have played, if this player wouldn't have played, if Casemiro... One person said to me, if Casemiro would have played, we would have won. You can't say that in football, whoever that player might be. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's a game of football where two teams are pretty even for the best part of the first half. But the second half, they just absolutely took it over Arsenal, and we could hardly get in the game. We couldn't get out of our own box at times. And no matter which player you would have brought in, it might not have made any difference whatsoever. If you only changed one player, of course.
Good afternoon to everyone in the chat as well. I can see everyone just joining in now on the stream. Obviously, get your questions across and get your comments in on everything that me and Rick talk about. I mean, is that fair? Is that a fair assumption? Let us know in the chat, people, because a lot of people are going in and like what Ricky was arguing about with people on Instagram, like he said. It's like one man, the reason why Manchester United lost that game was because of Casemiro. Did you watch Monday Night Football, Rick? Did you see it last night? Did you see Carragher and Neville's dissection?
I didn't see it. I saw the game. I watched the game, but I didn't see the chit-chat before and after.
It was really building to what we were talking about outside the game. It was a case of everyone went in on McTominay pretty much after the game, and it was an obvious target because he was the one replacing Casemiro, like you said. But their dissection of the game was more on how superb Arsenal were in drawing Manchester United out of their shape at times, and how well their wingers came inverted as an extra midfielder to let the fullbacks bomb on. Zinchenko was massive in that game, and when they broke it down, it was just good to see that it wasn't them saying McTominay was a bad player. It's just they went in, as far as I could see, as to saying Scott McTominay just isn't as good as a Casemiro for understanding how Arsenal were drawing him into certain positions and situations. Is that the case? Does that show you the quality of player when it's broken down like that? Is it the game knowledge and the game management and actually realising as a player, because the coach gets stick, so the players take some as well for not understanding what goes on in the game? Because that's pretty much what Neville and Carragher were doing last night.
Look, anything's possible in a game. It might be the case that he could have done better in certain situations and not got drawn out. But I was at the game, as you know, and I've not seen it again on screen. I'd love to have watched it again on screen, but I just haven't had the time before we've come in today. But I will, and maybe we'll do a show tomorrow night after the Forest game, and I'll watch it before then and come back to it. The thing that I noticed the most, when you consider that in 2 weeks we've played the top two teams in the league and we've beaten City and we've lost to Arsenal, and I know it's different at home than it is away. We've beaten City and lost to Arsenal. To me, the team shape wasn't as defensive against Arsenal as it was against City. I thought the wingers worked better and sat back more. I mean, the two wingers against City were Bruno on one flank and Rashford on the other. And we had three in midfield. That's another thing about McTominay getting a lot of stick. It's as simple as this. We literally did play with two midfield players at Arsenal, because I never count Bruno as a proper midfield player. You know, when he played against City, he played on the wing, and then against Arsenal, he played slightly ahead of the midfield. So against Arsenal, we're only playing with McTominay and Eriksen, and against City, we played with Casemiro, Eriksen and Fred. So it's almost like McTominay's taken the place of two players, and he's expected to do the work of two men in a manner. I'm not saying he couldn't have done better. I'm really not. I'd like to watch it again on screen. But to me, the biggest thing was that there weren't enough players behind the ball on many occasions. I don't think the wingers worked as well. And the other thing I've got to bring up as well is Anthony Martial. You take your lead. I don't think Weghorst is doing a bad job at all. I think he's doing all right. But even the manager spoke glowingly about Martial after the City game, about how he cuts off the passing angles, and your players around your centre forward, they take the lead from the centre forward. The centre forward is the person who he leads the team basically. He's the front man. And I thought Martial did a great job against City. And anybody who doesn't agree with me, by the way, the manager said the very same thing on the Monday night after the Derby game. How important, he didn't just say how important it was that Martial played, but he even said how important it was that he started, because the beginning of the game is so important. And he could only do the first half, and against a much superior team than us, we came in at half-time 0-0, and that was the target that day. And I know we were drawing against Arsenal at half-time, but you know, there weren't enough players defending. I don't think at times, and it left it difficult for the two midfield men.
Not enough players defending, Rick. We've got a few comments coming here. MKF says Rashford is no good in tight spaces. We all know it. Wish Garnacho was further ahead in his team integration, because he'd be the right player for both the Palace game and second half against Arsenal. I mean, Rashford, you had an issue. You talked privately with us about Rashford and the mistakes that you thought he made late on in that game.
There was one glaring error.
Dissect it for us, Rick, in terms of how you went that, because you talked then about not enough players behind the ball. You make a big point about this, and obviously Rashford is in that wing position. For you, do you find that, because their danger was Saka down that right-hand side for Arsenal, and that's Luke Shaw's side with Rashford. Do you feel like that's where there was a problem?
A lot of people also going in on Luke Shaw. It's a bit like, you know, it's like they're not even taking into account who he's actually playing against. Saka's playing absolutely brilliantly. He played well for England in the World Cup. He's now playing for the top of the table team. They win virtually every week, and Saka plays well for them every week. So it's a difficult thing. Now, it's a difficult game for any fullback. And what you normally get when you're playing against a winger as good as that, they talk about doubling up, don't they? And it was very rare that it was doubled up. The number of times I saw Saka drifting into the box, and I've heard people saying Shaw should have approached him more and kept him out of the box. They might have a point, but at the same time, if you approach him, and as he's approaching you, it's easier for him to get past you. You don't want him to get past you. That's the most important thing. So, you know, in an ideal world, you want to double up on that player, whoever the fullback is. And I don't think, to me, that Rashford's a natural defensive-minded left-sided player. He's clearly an attack-minded player, but there are plenty of players out there who are more defensive-minded. And I think, look, it's easy in hindsight. If we'd have gone and won that game, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But we didn't win that game, and I believe we've got other players within our own squad who are more defensive minded. And again, other people might say, yeah, but we're Man United, we want to take the game to them. We didn't really take the game to City. We won it with goals on the break in the end, and then we did sort of take the game a little bit more to Arsenal, and it didn't work for us. I think we should have been more defensive.
Do you feel like, in defence of Rashford though, that he is our only goal threat right now? In terms of playing on the break, he is very attack-minded. I just don't see how we can afford to leave Marcus Rashford out of the team. And I made the point, and it's been spoken about, we're not creating chances. I spoke with Mark about this the other day. Our best goal this season so far combined was the way we worked the goal for Bruno against Crystal Palace. Yeah. It was worked as a team. Rashford is... And if you take Rashford out of that game against Arsenal, his brilliant goal, which he made himself, then there was the effort which Ramsdale made a miraculous save from, which he created himself again. Is that the problem though? Because if we look to maybe change it up and go more defensive, we have zero threat going forward, and we just don't seem to have anyone else with that bite and that incisiveness to go forward and get us the goals to actually compete at the moment.
Against the top sides, it's more about keeping a clean sheet. Don't worry about who's going to score. That's a fair argument when you're playing, I don't know who we've beaten recently, Bournemouth at home, Forest at home. You know, obviously you want to be looking, you've got to be thinking before the game starts about how we're going to score goals, how we're going to open them up. And of course it's great if you can do that against the top sides. But the manager knew what he was doing. If you look at the City game, it was about stopping them. I mean, Marcus did well in that game defensively. Bruno started on the right flank. As I've said, Martial took the lead. Not bombing forward. The manager spoke in his press conference about how important Martial's pressing is to the team. And I think a lot of people probably thought, what do you mean, Martial? Pressing, everybody thinks he doesn't run all over the show. He doesn't. A lot of people think he doesn't press. But I think what the manager meant was that he's an intelligent player and he knows the right moment to press. You know, you only press when there's a chance of making a player making a mistake. When they've got the ball under control in their back four and you're 20 yards away, there's no point running that 20 yards because they'll pass it around you. You need to go and put the pressure on them at a moment when the goalie's maybe given a slightly dodgy pass that's a bit behind somebody, or if the ball's coming through the air, you try and make that ground up while the ball's coming through the air so that you can play, as they call it in the game, play on somebody's first touch. But when they've got lots of time and they're in control of the ball, there's no point pressing in a game like that. Just sit back, let them have it in their half, let them pass it around as long as they want in their half. As soon as they start approaching the halfway line, and that's when you want to start making them move it around. So I feel as though that's how we should have played against Arsenal, without any thought given to who is going to score a goal or how we're going to score a goal.
Yeah, a few comments in. Ginger Red says Rashford had 3 players on him all the time when in forward positions. I feel like that's a good point from Ginger Red 68 there, Rick, because I don't feel like we have a threat elsewhere in that forward line, and maybe them players, someone like Rashford would be targeted by Arsenal to take away that main threat, and then you see him doing things that he shouldn't really have to create a chance, like I just spoke about then. But it did look like Arsenal realised very, very quickly that there was one main threat in that game, because second half they started to overcrowd. I mean, Ben White was subbed off simply because Rashford had him on toast. Tomiyasu came on, Rashford had a good spell at first, but then it fizzled out. They sort of sussed out Manchester United's attack. Is there enough coming from the other forwards? People are saying in the chat here, Bruno and Eriksen need to pass the ball more to Weghorst instead of looking for the Hollywood ball to Rashford or playing it out wide. Can we bring Weghorst in? We're not getting enough crosses into Weghorst. How many times have we crossed the ball into him? That's all been spoken about, and people in the comment section here are talking about that as well. Was it too easy for Arsenal to figure us out going forward, Rick?
We haven't got the wingers to cross the ball, have we? Both of our wingers.
One of them's our leading goal scorer.
Like to cut in and shoot, don't they?
Yeah.
They both like to cut in and shoot. So it's a bit of a conundrum to see how Weghorst is going to get chances. Look, Rashford's obviously a threat. He is scoring goals. In a game like that, we need to concentrate more on stopping them getting goals. And if we can get a goal on the break, that's brilliant. And I just feel as though we could have defended better without even, obviously you get set pieces, for example. We scored from a corner, didn't we, in the end? It might not have been a set piece, it might have been a bit of a lucky one, it bounced out to
good ball in, though,
great ball in,
yeah.
Great ball in. All I'm talking about a set piece, all I mean is you're from a corner or a free kick, you might score, even if it's not even something that you've worked on, you might score from it. So you can do that, and we actually did do that. So I think you should be more concerned in games like that, like we would against City, about stopping the opposition. And then if we can get a goal, it might be from a set piece. It doesn't have to be from somebody who does something brilliant, as Marcus did. It was a great goal. I just wanted to mention something very quickly, by the way. The guy that said there was 3 players on Marcus. Very interesting that he said that after we've just said that Luke Shaw wasn't even getting doubled up on Saka. He was playing against Saka on his own most of the time.
Well, it seemed like Fred got brought on to help him out, didn't it? But I mean, on Luke Shaw, Rick, you touched on it there then. I know you're a big fan of Luke Shaw. I think everyone has been impressed with him this season. That was the one game where he looked like he was struggling. I couldn't understand, because if there was anyone in as much form as Saka from a wide position this season, it's Mahrez at Manchester City. And he was tight to everything that Mahrez was doing. He just seemed to step off Saka in a different way. I don't know if he'd been given instructions or he wanted to try and handle it a different way, but Arsenal had more touches in Manchester United's box than anyone has had this season in that game. That was shown up last night on the diagnosis of the game and the analysis. But I was thinking, I would say 3/4 of them were Saka down Luke Shaw's side. Why? And they were trying to figure it out why he was dropping off him so much. And they came to the conclusion that he was caught in two minds of how to handle him. He's a player who's in incredible form right now. And sometimes, like we've said, you hold your hands up and say, you're just dealing with a world-class player. And he is going to get the better of you more often than not. You have to try and limit that. We were pressing Mahrez high against City.
Don't forget, Malacia played left-back against City.
This is it. So
Shaw played as a left-sided centre-back, which is probably also a help. I mean, obviously, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I bet if we rewatch the City game, you'll probably see Shaw taking the ball off Mahrez or blocking Mahrez on numerous occasions because he's a left-sided centre-back and he's covering Malacia. I'm not saying Martinez didn't help Shaw out at times as well, which is how we shaped up this weekend. It's a tough ask at the minute to decide whether Shaw and Malacia is the best pairing or whether it's Martinez and Shaw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because they did so well against City, Shaw and Malacia did.
I mean, I looked at it and I thought, you have time to dissect the game, you have time to break everything down. You go, we could have done some things better. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. We just had a few players that weren't quite on it, in my opinion, for the Arsenal game, like everyone was for City. I thought we had a few players under par, and I think that's what cost us in the end, and Arsenal got on top of us. But it's like Thierry Henry said, this is an Arsenal team coming into the game 3 years in their development after having a week off. Manchester United are coming in having played 2 days ago in their first 6 months of development, and they more than competed with Arsenal. So let's just settle down with the result against Arsenal and accept that United are competing and really did push Arsenal. And every Arsenal fan I've spoken to have said that was the hardest game that they've had all season at home. And their home record is pretty much perfect apart from 2 points dropped against Newcastle. And that's their hardest game, the Newcastle fans are saying. So it does go to show how quickly Ten Hag is turning this team around and how players are improving.
100%, but there's a massive improvement, absolute massive improvement. And we could easily have got something out of it. It's such a late goal, and that was something I wanted to touch on about Marcus's game. We mentioned before the show, didn't we? I wanted to talk about this. About a minute or so, but when was that? Was it in the 90th minute, the winning goal? Was it in the 90th?
Yeah, 91, I think it was.
So probably half a minute or 40 seconds before that, we're in a difficult situation in our left-back area, and there's 3 or 4 passes. I haven't had time to watch it again. I did see Match of the Day on Saturday night, and I saw it on there, that there was 3 or 4 quick passes to try and get ourselves out of trouble. And then when you get the opportunity to give the ball to one of your forwards, because you can't, if you could give it to your forward earlier, you'd give it to your forward earlier. It's not always on. Obviously, the passing lanes are blocked, people are in your way. Even sometimes your own players might be in your way, preventing you from seeing your forward. But when you give the ball to your forward, you need your forward to get hold of the ball. You desperately need, when you're under pressure, you need your forward to get hold of the ball to buy you a few seconds. Often, very often, if your forward takes hold of the ball, you'll get bumped from behind, you get a free kick, you gain half a minute, your players can come up, you get a breather. And we managed to work a situation where there was a pass to Marcus on, and he passed it to Marcus. And I've got to be honest with you, even watching the game, you're so emotional watching the game. I saw this happen in the game, but it didn't dawn on me how close it was to the winning goal. So the ball was given to Marcus, and where he should have taken a touch, he fired it back to Martinez, probably a 25-yard pass. Martinez was deep in his own box. He had to control it on his chest. You really couldn't make it up. He had to control it on his chest, and then we've got to try and work out. We've already worked our way out. We've now got to start working our way out again, and this time we don't work our way out. It goes out for a throw-in, and like I say, I think it's probably 30-odd seconds from Marcus's pass to Martinez that they end up scoring the winning goal. Now, a lot of people might say, you're being harsh. I promise you, I'm not being harsh. It needs jumping on. You've got to... it's one thing making a mistake in football where you miscontrol it, or you try to beat somebody and you lose it, or you try a pass, you don't quite get it right, somebody intercepts it. It's one thing making a mistake, but making a fundamental mistake where you don't realise what you're actually supposed to do at that moment, to me, is unforgivable. It needs jumping on. It is, why have you not taken hold of that ball and fired it straight back into our own box to a defender? And if he'd have got hold of it, if we'd have got hold of it and maybe got a foul, you never know for sure, but if he'd have got hold of it, maybe won us a free kick, we'd probably end up drawing the game instead of losing it.
This is the thing. I mean, a few people picked up on certain mistakes there. Hopefully, one good thing that you've talking about there, Rick, which we have done this season, is react to bad results. We've dealt with the issues that we've had in game, whether it'll be one player in particular, or the way we've played as a team. We've sort of reacted every single time to a bad defeat, and hopefully that is what happens this week, because we're moving ahead towards Cup week now, 3 Cup games in a row. The chat is going mental here. Earlier on, Ricky, you said you didn't see Ten Hag's press conference, but the question was asked, injury-wise, what's the updates? Sadly, Martial looks long-term. Mark was talking about this.
Long-term?
Yeah, it could be a few more weeks. Could be seeing another 4 weeks out. Mark was talking about this earlier on. Dello is still not recovered from his latest injury, but the biggest question, and what I'll get into this is, and the chat's picking up on it now, some comments not quite fair, some a bit too close to the bone, but Jadon Sancho, we worked out the other day, I think it was on the show, he hasn't been injured, and he's now missed around about 17 games through the problems that he's got. Ten Hag has sent him away. He's treating him differently to everyone else. I'm going to look at it from the other side. I can see what Ten Hag's doing. He's making sure that the player is mentally ready, because he drums in the mental issue. Every time there's a defeat, he's like this. You can see it in his press conference. He's talking about the mental side of the game. We have to mentally be strong. He's working on Jadon Sancho, but I have to look at it from the other side, and I'm looking at the fan base, I'm looking at reactions to things, and looking at it from a different angle. Is Ten Hag on the rod for his own back here? Because if Jadon Sancho comes in and doesn't hit the ground running now, the fan base can get very impatient, and especially for a player on his amount of money and the price we've paid for him. Is this adding to a pressure that he has to come back and perform now? Could this actually be a problem for Jadon Sancho going forward? Because if he is struggling mentally now and doesn't hit the ground running coming back, what's that going to do to his mental state then? It's a big concern for me, because I've never known a player be off this long who's fit or who's not injured as such. I know his fitness is match fitness, but fans want to know, when is Sancho coming back? How long can Ten Hag keep him away from the action, even being on the bench? He's been training for 2 weeks. He's been training on his own in Holland, training 2 weeks back in England as well, Rick. Could this be a problem?
Definitely could be a problem. I can only see one way around it, and Sancho would have to understand this. And I thought, do you know what, Adam? I don't think he was playing so badly as people were saying when he first went missing. But anyway, that's another story. That was my feeling at the time. I thought he was playing all right. He's the sort of player that I like. He plays with his head up, Sancho, and he sees the short passes, and he sees the passes, and I like that.
I do like Sancho.
Good decision maker. So I don't think he was playing as badly as people seem to think. But anyway, we're now in this situation where he's been away a long time. There's only one way for me around it, because if you throw him back into a game and it doesn't start well for him, obviously problematic. I can only see it working for him by putting him on the bench for numerous games and easing him back into it. That's the only way I can see around it. Give him 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and hopefully in some of those games, or most of those games, because we have just had a good run, if we can start winning games again and giving him the last 10 or 15 minutes in games where hopefully most of the time we're mostly leading, he could ease his way back into it, and before you know it, it's forgotten about. Then you can give him a start.
This is the thing, it's sometimes not forgotten about in the fan base. I mean, I can just look at, I'm going to go through a few comments now in the live section, which pretty much tells you exactly where we're at with this one. Is there any evidence of mental health or just speculation? That's from Stu. Sancho is going to be okay. We need to support him. This is what being a supporter is about, says Jonathan Murphy. Straight underneath that, you've got IQ Insane says, he's on a 350k a week, Adam. This is his last chance. Believe me, Erik ten Hag is ruthless. 75 million price tag, £350,000 a week. It's all right saying one thing off the pitch in terms of us talking about it before an actual game's gone on, but in the heat of the battle, you know what crowds are like, Ricky. You go to a lot of games. You change. You're sort of emotionally there in the game with the team, and if someone doesn't look like he's pulling his weight, or someone looks like he's not playing very well, you naturally, just because of that in-game moment, you go a little bit harder on a player. That's when this is going to affect Jadon Sancho, I think. If he hears groans, moans on the pitch, because he's deleted all social media now. So we're taking social media out of this. He's done the right thing in that, which makes you think, actually, was there a problem there rather than on the pitch? But I still believe that the fan base can say one thing, but when it comes to a game, things change, Rick. You know it does. And it's how he adapts and handles that, because the pressure now is Garnacho's coming through. Obviously, we move Rashford to the right. Where does Sancho fit in? And if he's not performing, how long can Ten Hag, like IQ said there, how long will he hold on to him before he just says, I can't do anything with this player? It's not his signing. He's not a Ten Hag signing. We know what he's like with his own players and who he brings in. Seems to be very favourable towards that. This, I think, could backfire on Ten Hag a little bit. And with not much money there at the moment, can we afford to be doing this with such a high value asset, as you say?
Well, first of all, we've got plenty of wingers knocking on the door. So, as much as I'm concerned for the lad himself, Sancho, and I hope it goes well for him. How can I put this without sounding crass? I don't mean it towards him directly. I mean for the team. I'm not concerned too much about the team. We've got so many wingers. You know what I mean? I don't think Palestri came on the other week. He looked like a breath of fresh air. I don't think Garnacho's getting enough game time.
People have said that about Palestri as well in the comments here. We need to give Palestri a try. I mean, we're talking about sending him out on loan. I think it was a Brazilian club. I think Flamengo, who was reported on sending him to. It's a bit strange for me. I don't know about that. I mean, we need, obviously, a lot of players going through the games that we've got. It is absolutely crazy. I think it was Samuel Luckhurst in the MEN said, if United actually qualify for all the competitions or win the competitions and go through to the next rounds, they won't be able to play all the games. When you break the calendar down, there's not enough time.
There's not enough
we
games
can't play
to
all
play
the games.
Twice a week,
We haven't got enough room, because if we get to the final of the Carabao Cup, we then have to cancel the Brentford game. This is the problem. We need plenty of players there. I'm back on Sancho again. I hate to sort of like doom and gloom sort of be a negative point on it, but I have to look at it from the players' side around the squad as well. It's like, this guy is on 350k a week. Rashford's on 150 less. Garnacho, let's not even bring it in. These players are all due for renewal, Rick. If Ten Hag is treating Sancho this way, and then these renewals come around, it kind of blows that whole Ronaldo rule of trying to talk about out, because they'll just go, this guy's just had 3 months off and he's still getting paid this wage. He didn't perform that well the season before. Why can't I have that? It causes issues elsewhere in the club for me, and that's my worry, my big worry. It's like the effect on the squad and the team. As much as they say, look, we're behind him, he's our teammate, the people behind them, the agents, they won't give two flying F-bombs about what the player says. They'll want the best deal for them, and it could cause United a problem.
Could cause a problem. If I'm to believe everything, if you believe everything you read, he is going to try and cut the money down to a maximum of £200,000 a week.
I don't see how that works.
I don't see how it works. And I've also, is it David De Gea I've read who's completely unhappy with it, and I did read in one article, though, that if he has to do it, he's prepared to do it to stay at Man United. Again, you don't really know if that's true. Do you believe everything you read?
Well, that's it.
Well, Sancho will be in the same boat. If other players are doing it, he'll be in the same position, won't he? And, £200,000 a week is surely enough for any man. That's the way I look at it. Whether, how Sancho would feel about it, whether it'd make him feel even worse losing 150 grand a week off his wage packet.
Everyone spends to the means,
it's not going to help, is it? You know what I mean?
No.
But in all seriousness, I just hope it goes well for him. I do think he's a good player. I think he was doing better at the time when he stopped playing than most people thought. And when he comes back in, I'm hoping he can get 10, 15, 20 minutes, build it up, and probably after a few games on the bench, give him a start, and that's the only way forward.
Yeah, in terms of the other forwards, we're talking it then. Ginger Red said there again, send Alanga out on loan and keep Palestra. Would that work for you? Do you think Alanga, I know you like Alanga, would you send him out on loan to get more game time? Is it worth just keeping Palestra right now? Because you said it was a breath of fresh air. And I didn't get carried away with Palestra. It was Charlton the last 20 minutes and they were run ragged. If you throw him into a big game, he's got no experience at all, and that could be a problem. I'm not getting too carried away with that one. I do think he deserves a chance like other forwards have, but would you send Alanga out on loan?
I'd have to have a good deep think about it, really.
If Sancho comes back, there's another forward.
If it doesn't work out for Sancho, and if Martial's going to have a long-term injury, how many forwards have we actually got? You know, we've got Weghorst, we've got Rashford, we've got Garnacho, we've got Alanga,
Palestra.
Palestra. I think that's about it. Am I missing anyone?
Without Sancho, Martial.
If those, Anthony. And Anthony, of course, sorry. So we've got 5 or 6. I don't think it's too many. We're counting wing players here plus strikers, because obviously if Martial's out, Weghorst isn't going to play every minute of every game, so Marcus is probably going to have to play at 9 a couple of times, or certainly the last 20-30 minutes of a game he's probably going to play at 9. So then you've got 4 wingers if Sancho's, that's right, isn't it? You've got 4 wingers. I'm not too sure we need to send any of them. Plus Alanga can play at 9. He might not be fantastic, but he's a better option as a 9 than any of the other wingers, I imagine. He's not too bad in the air.
Alanga at 9, mate, honestly.
But above or below who? Below Wout, or however we say it, for sure. Below Martial. But if Martial's not there, you do need a backup, whoever it might be. You do need a backup. I'm not convinced by Marcus there either. I wouldn't be against. Let's put it this way.
You would put Marcus ahead of Alanga there, though, wouldn't you?
Number 9. Probably just. There might not be in it. Let me put it this way to you. I like a forward who gets hold of the ball with his back to goal. If Alanga would have been playing at that precise moment of the day, he'd have probably got hold of that.
I don't. Do you know what?
It's a very simple thing, Adam. You've got to get hold of it.
I just don't think Alanga's got that in his repertoire either. I don't. I think he burst onto the scene and he's having a second season syndrome right now, isn't it?
You cannot predict what's going to happen on a football pitch, but I would put a hell of a lot of money on it that virtually no player would have fired that ball first time straight back. Virtually no player.
Yeah.
Straight back at chest high to a defender who's
I actually want to go in interaction mode on this one. I actually want to see if we could possibly put a poll up. Who is United's best winger striker?
Winger striker.
Out of them wingers, who would you put as a striker? I think it's just one for the chat. So, out of the wingers, say, let's go Antony, Garnacho, Alanga, and Rashford.
Yeah.
Which one of them would you prefer as a number 9 if Weghorst and Martial was out? Let's see what the chat says on that one. I would definitely go Rashford as the best option there for me, because he has played it more, and I think he is our best forward at the moment. I think it's quite clear. Alanga isn't good enough. Rashford for sure. Rashford. A lot of people saying Rashford. I don't have the guys in the studio going to put me a little poll up there, but I can guess where it's all going. People who start saying McTominay and being silly, you need to stop that. It's not. Anyway, that's what happens on an interactive show, Rick. Another player that came up and has caused multiple debates within the fan base right now, Rick, is our goalkeeper, David De Gea. I mean, that poll is up, everybody, by the way, so do check that out. Rashford, Alanga, Antony or Garnacho. Let me know what you think. Get voting in there now as to who you would want to come in off the wing and play striker, because we're that desperate and we just haven't got enough forward players. It's as simple as that. Get your voting in now. David De Gea, Rick. There are rumours today that United have been monitoring David Raya from Brentford. He's a very, very good goalkeeper, one of many in the Premier League right now. I have my issues with De Gea. Everybody knows it. I'm going to get bombarded with Adam's De Gea agenda and everything like that, I know. But there were moments in that Arsenal game I thought De Gea bottled big time. I thought he could have took the pressure off our defence and calmed situations down. One moment that I went in on was when Martinez had to come in and make a slide tackle in the 6-yard box and give away another corner, which kept us under constant pressure. He could have come and taken that ball, He could have caught a few that he tried to punch, which were pretty poor. Hold on to it, take the sting out of it. In the summer, Rick, because we know De Gea isn't going anywhere right now. In the summer, would you look towards bringing in another goalkeeper? Would you look and say, we need to adapt? Because right now, I'm going to make a statement right now, I don't think David De Gea is in the top 7 goalkeepers in this league. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's probably going to get clipped up, but I don't think David De Gea is in the top 7 in the league. I can think of goalkeepers that are better. Is this, and it's hard, it's difficult to talk about because he has been a very good servant for this football club, and I do think he's one of the best shot stoppers in the world, but sometimes it's about organising that defence to stop the shots continuously coming in. You haven't really been fussed about goalkeepers recently, Rick. Do you have to look at it a little bit differently when you see things like that in big games?
Yeah, again, I'm not sitting on the fence here. I do remember that moment, and I did, because I was at the game, as I say, and I do remember thinking, should the keeper have been there? But it's in the blink of an eye, it's something I'd like to watch again on the screen and rerun it and say, yeah, he should be out, or maybe you've been a bit harsh. I don't know. I'd like to watch it again. As I said, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but that's just one thing. I mean, there's probably numerous things, things in a game where you think maybe he could have been a bit quicker, maybe he could come and dominate his box. I've never really thought that he's a keeper who dominates his box as well as he could do. I remember after the Derby game, Beth bringing up his distribution in the Derby game. I think his distribution has improved when they try and play out from the back, his short passing, when he's passing it to full back or giving it. I mean, it went disastrously wrong at Brentford for us a while back, didn't it? When he played a short ball to Ericsson, they ended up scoring.
Yeah, I didn't blame Ericsson. I did blame De Gea for that.
So we did have problems like that, but I do think his short passing game has improved, dramatically, really. But it's to me, it's his long kicking that I think lets him down quite a bit. When he goes for that long pass, it's a bit too often, too high, and over the player's head. If he's aiming it out wide to a player, it's often too high or too wide of the player. And something else that I thought about against City, well, was under pressure at times. When we need to kick it long, it's not difficult kicking the ball high and long, and I didn't think he got enough distance on his kicks myself at certain times in the derby, when we were under quite a bit of pressure as well. So we need somebody, well, not maybe his distribution needs to improve, but I won't be against having another keeper who could put some pressure on him, who's maybe better at that part of the game.
Yeah, just going to go a couple of super chats. One I missed earlier on from Stevrion says, can he perhaps back up the number 10 position? I'm trying to remember who it was we were talking about there. I think
not De Gea.
Sancho, definitely not De Gea. Definitely not De Gea. Sancho. Anyone who wants to talk, and this has been brought up a few times, I'm going to shut it down right now. No, Sancho's not a number 10. He hasn't got the game for a number 10. So I'm just going to finish that one off right now. Another super chat from SK. I'll say this about Sancho. Sancho's hot topic. Don't be like Arsenal fans who wanted Nketiah out and how he's a hero now. Judge Sancho when he's back. When he's back and he's playing, this is what I was talking about, SK. Thanks for the super chat. It's a fair point, judging when he's back. My point was the pressure he's under when he's come back because he's been out for so long with no injury. Hopefully he can mentally handle it, because this will be 2 years and not much return on 2 years worth with Sancho. I don't want to go too much on that, we've talked about it already, but the poll, Ricky,
90% Rashford.
73% Rashford. We've got over 1,000 votes on it now, 1,300 votes. 73% going Rashford, 19 Garnacho.
Garnacho was a number 9, eh?
Yep.
That's an interesting one.
Alanga's got 4% and Anthony's got 3%. That's probably the order. I mean, on Garnacho, I don't know enough about him.
No.
Everyone's just running the hyper think on Garnacho at the moment and saying they probably just prefer him to go there because he's playing better. So that's probably what it is. But David Raya from Brentford, that's been talk of the town today. Do you rate David Raya?
Look, I rarely see Brentford. He obviously looks a decent keeper when I have seen him, but I need to watch him a lot more, really.
He's ahead of De Gea in the Spanish squad.
Yeah,
behind Simon. I think it's Simon, I think David Raya. I think one other, I kind of think who it is now, but De Gea's not even in that squad. So
to give your opinion, you need to watch him yourself, really.
Yes, I've watched him.
Some managers to me pick the wrong players, so don't go off the fact that the manager picks him.
I mean, I've watched him a few times. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. He was excellent in some big games as well. I mean, against us, he really didn't have much to do.
No.
I'm hoping he's going to be busy. There is another poll up right now. This is going to be a controversial one, which is, should we replace David De Gea? Oh, I can see the hate coming already, Rick, honestly. I'm going to get pelters on social media. It's going very one-sided at the moment. It's just an opinion, people. That's all it is. That's all it is. Dave stays. There is a real love affair with David De Gea at this football club. I just feel like we need to be ruthless. That's with every single player on the pitch, and I'll leave it at that. Bruno should be number 9, says Tim.
We didn't cover that. We didn't cover that. Bruno has done it a couple of times.
He has played the false 9. Didn't really work on either occasion, Rick,
no, I don't
to be
think
fair.
He did, no.
I prefer Bruno in 10, to be fair, honestly. And I think number 9, we're clutching at straws a little bit because Weghorst, some people have picked up on his pace. Is even quick enough? It's just one of them. We've been stung by the ownership taking over in the summer. The Glazers not wanting to spend any money in January has become a problem for us, where other teams around us are spending money. We've just been unlucky, I think, with this window because we've got what we wanted in the Glazers leaving. But that means that Ten Hag has been left stranded a little bit in January. And will it affect us actually getting the top 4 and giving us a good chance in the market in the summer? It's if buts and maybes, I think we have got enough to get top 4 personally, but it hasn't been made easier for Ten Hag with the slim pickings we've got in terms of bringing another forward in.
Injuries to Martial, absolutely massive for us. Absolutely massive. If he doesn't get fit, I don't think we'll get top 4.
There's one from Ricky there, people. If Martial doesn't get fit, we are not making top 4. Ooh, that's a big one. There has been talk about ownership. Qatari group possibly being interested in Manchester United. I think it's the same one that's in charge of PSG. This is where I kind of quash this argument. If you've got one, I know you can own multiples. Sir Jim Radcliffe would be doing that with Lille, obviously, because he's bought them. And then if he wanted United, he would buy them. But the Qatari ownership model, I mean, it is one of bottomless pit of cash, Rick. I don't know if you're bothered about who buys Manchester United. Mark was on the other day talking. I'm not really bothered. It's not even a debate. At the end of the day, someone's going to be upset with one owner that comes in and buys United than the other person. Are you bothered?
Probably not. Look, we need to compete with other teams. We need to be able to spend what we want to spend. We could probably spend what we wanted to spend if people weren't just taking money out. So we don't necessarily need. We don't need somebody to come in who's got billions to spend, but somebody that doesn't have to take money out of the club at all. With other clubs where people have only been putting money in, mentioning no names, and and obviously we're not really competing with at least one of them at the minute. Before you know it, the way Newcastle are going, we won't be competing with them either.
I know we do need to nip in the bud quick and stay ahead or stay competitive in the market and financially. It's 70-30 in the poll for David De Gea at the moment. 70 to getting rid of him. I'm only joking. I knew it would be the other way. 70-30 in favour of De Gea staying. But there is still 30% that are dubious about De Gea and see it differently. I'm one of them. Sorry. Not sorry. Cup week, Rick. Nottingham Forest. Tough game, I feel. I remember, I think it was Faz, Beth, Charlie and Kev were talking about the game on the forum after the Arsenal game, looking ahead towards Nottingham Forest. It's Nottingham Forest. United should be winning this game. That sort of was the general consensus coming out. I think they've rethought that since then because Nottingham Forest at the City Ground have not lost a game for a very, very long time. We've seen Chelsea struggle there, Liverpool struggle there. It's going to be a tough game under the floodlights. And let's not forget, them Nottingham Forest fans haven't played United at the City Ground for 20 years.
Is that right?
They'll be more than up for this game. You've been there yourself before, Rick. It is a hostile atmosphere when it gets going there. And United are going to have to be on their mettle going into this game.
It's going to be a real tough game. Obviously, we've got a second leg to come at Old Trafford. Normally, you would probably think that we'd expect, or at least hope, to win at Notts Forest. But, you know, if I'm honest, I'd take a draw now in the first leg. I really would.
Yeah, I think a few people will be with you on that.
It's going to be tough.
I think Ten Hag would look at this as a two-half game. Obviously, 2 legs. I don't think he'd be too fussed with a draw away from home. Our home form is exceptional right now. We're beating everybody. We've already beaten Nottingham Forest at home in the league easily. But away, you just basically don't want to be out of the game really in this competition, do you really? At this stage, I feel like we can take anyone at Old Trafford, and we've proved that this season. We've beaten the best that there is. So Nottingham Forest, if it is a draw, I think would be a good result. I'm fully confident we can take them back at Manchester United.
I wouldn't be overconfident, but I would think that we can get, if we can get a draw at the City ground, I would feel that we're in a good position. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Team-wise, are we going strong, all out?
I think so.
Make sure we get this.
He wants to get to this
trophy
final.
in the bag.
He wants to get a trophy.
Yeah, definitely. So, going back to that defensive partnership again, then, Rick. Looking at the strengths of Nottingham Forest going forward, there isn't many that's well known. Physical. Would you be sticking with Martinez and Varane in there? Can you see Maguire coming back into this team? Luke Shaw at centre back again. Malacia's energy, which I think could come in handy against Forest because they are a very, very high energy team. They're sort of hot air at home and start to press teams and wait for the mistakes. So could you see the defensive lineup changing at all?
Yeah, it could. I'm not saying it will. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same back four that played at Arsenal, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see Shaw slip back into centre-back and Malacia get a game at full-back. I don't think he's going to want to leave Luke Shaw out. I do think because Malacia has not let us down and he maybe deserves a run out, but he's not just going to look at it that somebody deserves a run out. He wants to try and win the game. But Malacia and Shaw, as the left-sided centre-back and left-back, are not going to weaken us. But at the same time, Martinez has come back from being a World Cup winner and has taken a little while to hit the ground. And I think he'd also feel as though he doesn't really want to upset him. So I think I'm just about edging towards, although I wouldn't mind it being Shaw and Malacia, I think it'd be Martinez and Shaw. Yeah,
let us know in the comments section, guys, as well. Are you confident United can break this run of form that Nottingham Forest have had at home? A few comments coming in there. Beef Bully says 2-1 win. Rashford, Casemiro, come on boys. We are a better team. We are the better team. We are. And we score goals. I'm not sure about we score goals. Our goals for column this season is pretty poor and has shown and highlighted the issues. Martial, Rashford chopping and changing, Rashford playing on the right, not deciding on what right winger works best at the moment. Maybe Sancho coming back. You can go on the right, Rick. We've been shouting for it, me and yourself. Obviously, Sancho on the right hand side. So, you know, everybody, Ten Hag has confirmed that Sancho won't be available for this game. I've seen a few people saying, could we give Sancho minutes? He isn't in the squad. Neither is Martial, which is a concern, maybe even longer term out. And Dalot still not fully fit as well. So we're building our team around that. Marco says we will win. 8-1, says Mark. That's going back to the last time we actually played Nottingham Forest. You remember what happened in that game, didn't you, Rick?
Of course I do. Solskjaer come on as a sub when Andy Cole and Dwight York were already on 2 each, weren't they? And people, I mean, obviously there's a few lads who will be watching this who aren't old enough to remember it, but everyone was wondering whether York or Cole was going to forget a hat-trick. Solskjaer came off the bench and scored 4 before either of them could score again.
That was as mental. That was like crazy. That season had everything, didn't it?
Yeah,
it's famous for obvious reasons, 99. But in that 99 season, we did smash Nottingham Forest 8-1 at the City ground. It was frightening because that was the best I can remember as United in a forward playing team in terms of scoring goals. It was just absolutely crazy. We were unstoppable that season. Complete contrast to now. I was just talking then about the goals for column, Rick. It has shown a disruption in our forward line this season. I think sometimes, like I said in the Arsenal game, teams have found it easy to actually defend against us. He needs to find that combination, doesn't he?
Yeah.
If Sancho came back, you're putting him on the right hand side.
I'd certainly give him a chance there, without a doubt. Yeah,
I think does the inverted winger side of Ten Hag game worry you with that?
Yeah, well,
you feel like Sancho is going to get put on the left. If he's being put on the left, Rick, then he's not going to get ahead of Rashford.
No.
I think he's got a better chance going on the right, but he's not that inverted winger style. But one thing that Sancho worked with a lot in Dortmund was balls into the box to Haaland. We've now got a 6'5" centre forward. Could this be the missing piece? Sancho in alongside of Weghorst. You just don't know, Rick. This could actually work out for us, and hopefully, I know I've said all the negatives about what might happen with Sancho and the issues that he's got. It could work on the positive as well in coming back.
It could, but it's a bit of a stretch to put Weghorst alongside Haaland, isn't it?
A lot of headers. We know one thing. One thing he's good at in the box.
Rapid and rapid Haaland as well. So there is big differences there.
By the way,
but I do think Sancho on the right is definitely worth a shout.
Sancho on the right, definitely less. Raven with a super chats. Can you help get away tickets for tomorrow? No, it's a nightmare, mate. Sorry. At United, actually, I've just changed some ticketing format as well at the football club. And obviously, Rick, you heard the news the other day about the executive section being shifted from the Stretford end now. So it's going normal season ticket allocation.
Should make the atmosphere better.
It would. It's what the Stretford end needs. The club making moves in the right direction. Little things, but they have been doing a lot more good this season, I think, in terms of bringing the fans back on side, I would say. And definitely, I think Ten Hag has worked miracles with bringing the connection between the fans and the players back, but the club are making moves as well. I mean, we've had access as United stand, getting in, talking to certain players like Dalot the other week, and obviously now they're moving out what they would call a prawn sandwich section, Rick, bringing in some more hardcore fans ready to keep, like you said, the atmosphere up again. Yeah,
so, look, it's got to help. It's got to help. I mean, how much? It's only at the end of the day, it's a little bit of space really at the back of the stand, isn't it? So how much difference it'll make, I'm not really sure.
They make a difference on the pockets.
Yes, that's
true. It does go to show that the Glazers are well and truly heading out the door, because I can't see them giving a difference in price. I mean, we know the difference in price in them seats. To go back to normal season ticket prices, it does go to show that that's something the Glazers would not give the go-ahead. So it's good things for United, because that does, for me, mean that the Glazers are definitely out. This isn't just a hoax, and it isn't just false dawns again, and we all get excited and the Glazers say, oh, we got top four, we're back in the Champions League with 70 million a year, we're going to keep the club now. Because that's the fear, isn't it, at the end of the day? Everything's quiet at the moment. So we just don't know. Hey, guys, it's been absolutely epic in terms of the comments section. I want a few score predictions, actually, for tomorrow's game. I want to know what you guys think in terms of how you see the game going against Nottingham Forest. I can see a few people saying we're going to win. I'm with you, Rick. I mean, I'm happy with the draw. I'll take a draw there, move on to Old Trafford.
For the prediction, I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, I think it's a good result. I think we should go out and try and win the game. I do. But I do think there will be a cautious approach.
Imagine,
I think.
We're just speaking about atmosphere at Old Trafford. Can you imagine the atmosphere tomorrow night? For Forest, you know, they've got a good following. The atmosphere there's electric at times, and you know, for them to be in a League Cup semi-final, for the first time in how long against Manchester United, it'll be absolutely electric there tomorrow.
Yep. Any questions you guys want to get in to Rick or myself before the show comes to its conclusion? I'm just going to go through the comment section now in terms of scores. 1-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 5-0, 3-0. Confident Reds here, Rick.
I thought you was going to say against us.
2-0. I see, this is the thing. It's like, get the scores the right way round. I'm guessing you're all going with United, but at the moment you're all saying Forest are going to win here. But Wesley's done it there. Wesley Manx said 0-3 to United, 0-2, 1-2. That's the way it's done. Get it right. Super chatting from STEM Runs. Cheers for that again. Varane, Bruno and Eriksen might need the rest. Eriksen looks knackered and Varane has been playing none.
Surely Reading on Saturday's got a bit of time to rest one or two players.
I think that's the game I think that's the game we should be seeing Sancho. Easing back into the team. That's how I see it. I think Sancho to come into that game is ideal. I'm totally with you. I think we will rest players. I think we're definitely resting players for that Reading game. I don't think tomorrow night is a game to rest. You're literally 2 games, 1 tie away from Wembley. We haven't been for nearly 5 years, Rick. We've not been in a final for 5 years. I think the fan base need this Wembley trip, and I think it will just help with the momentum building with this football team and this club this season now. What about the De Gea poll? I think that finished 70-30 to De Gea staying, just so you've got that. Tomorrow we will see Maguire and Lindelof, says IQ. I hope not.
Saturday.
Saturday we should see them.
Saturday we'll see him.
But he's saying we'll see him tomorrow. I don't see that. I really don't. What's with all the Bruno hate and chat don't understand? That's the chat. We've got plenty of warriors in the chat, don't worry. We always do. Bruno is Bruno. We know how he plays. I think he's been better this season. Always goes for Hollywood passes. Mickey Mouse Cup. Yeah, we've got to take it, Malps. Even though it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, we've got to take any silverware, Rick, haven't we, really?
Desperate.
We've got to take anything we can,
just
to stop the rot.
It's not done City any harm. You know, they've been winning the league and challenging for the Champions League. They've still won the League Cup 4 times out of the last 5.
True.
You know what I mean? I think it's 4 out of the last 5, and I think somebody could check this, perhaps. I think they've won it 6 out of the last 8. So they take it proper serious and look where they are. So, you know, for us, it'd be fantastic to win it.
That's it. 6-0, Sancho first, a trick. He's not playing, so leave Sancho out of this one. I think the Bruno chat's going mental now as well. But yeah, guys, that pretty much sums up the video. All that's left for me to say is cheers for everyone tuning in. We have got more interactive shows coming up. Rumour has it we have got a different type of interactive show coming up soon on the channel, so we'll keep you posted on that. To know about that, you need to subscribe and hit that bell notification button, because then you will know when the updates are coming and when the new videos are coming. So 4 o'clock is going to become more of a regular thing, so just put that into your diary. Just before you finish work and clock off at 5 or 5:30, stick it on, put your earplugs in. That's an easy way to finish your working day, Rick, isn't it?
Pretend you're working still.
Exactly. Get your nightstand on in your earpiece. That's what it's all about. Rick, cheers for coming on. It's been a pleasure, mate, as always.
I've enjoyed it, mate.
Good, good, good. Guys, give the video a like. Get us up to 1,000 likes there just before we finish. Please, everybody, that would be nice as a thank you. And we will see you tomorrow, obviously, match day. I'll be there at the ground. Ricky, I think we will be back in the studio for the forum.
Yeah, if invited, I'll be here, yeah.
Yep, and obviously, hopefully, we're all talking about a Manchester United win. Like I said, like, share and subscribe to the United Stand, people. We're out of here. We'll see you all tomorrow for the Cup and hopefully the first step to a bit of silverware. Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.